I'm going to let you tell us what's going on. First of all, what's the state of SBA lending? How do we look in the budget, and how is it perceived on the Hill?
Well, the 7A program is going great guns. I mean, it's we're almost halfway through the fiscal year, and it looks like we've already got like $9.4 billion in
Yes.
7A loans approved. So they're going to, they're going to get close to hitting that $18.75 billion cap. Of course, this is a gross number, so the net number will be smaller. So they probably won't hit it to the point where they'd have to have a lending freeze or start rationing loans or anything. And like last year, Congress came in and said, "Oh, you're getting close. We'll jack it up." And right now, it's like the 7A program is like it seems to be the sweetheart of Capitol Hill. I mean, they've not only did they raise the authorization level last year, and the administration's asking for raising it again up to $21 billion. The House Small Business Committee says, "Well, I'll see that and raise you to $23.5 billion." So we'll see what the appropriate.
These are both dominated or led by the Republicans.
Right. Yeah, that's what's interesting about it. But I guess what I think, so that's the good news. Whereas, meanwhile, the poor 504 program is just kind of limping along. It's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, with that program, or if it's just maybe not needed as much anymore now that the commercial real estate market has improved, and maybe banks are more willing to make conventional loans to these borrowers, and the 504 program isn't needed as much. But,
well, my opinion on that is 504, we are in a low interest rate environment as we are today. 504 is not that attractive. Once rates start picking up, premiums dip a little bit in 7A. I think 504 will make a comeback, but you're right. It's certainly down than it was pre-recession levels.
Right. But what I think is what's interesting to me with what's going on is, and if I were an SBA lender, I'd watch very closely what happens with the Export-Import Bank.
Yes.
Because those same ideological arguments that are being made against the Export-Import Bank could be made against SBA lending. That the government shouldn't be in the business of financing, business, you're distorting the market, you're picking winners and losers.
Winners and choosers, losers.
Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. It's like as if the government itself is doing, but even though the bank is making the decision, there's tacit government involvement because there's a government guarantee. So I guess that's where the argument comes in. But we'll see where that goes. I mean, that's going to be in the next couple of months. They have to make a decision on Export-Import Bank because they basically kicked the can down the road. They temporarily reauthorize it and says, well, we'll take it up again. Maybe we'll do some reforms. But the hard right ideological folks are still going great guns against XM. The Heritage and Cato and the Koch brothers back folks. So it's going to be a tough issue for a lot of Republicans. Even used to be routine in the past. So if for some reason they don't reauthorize XM, I think the SBA could be next in their sights, and already you see signs of that. You see, it's groups like Watchdog.org doing all these, quote exposés of SBA loans going to like luxury resorts and green development. They say affiliates of Fortune 100 companies. I think they just mean franchisees, and that's a whole other issue. Is like a lot of folks are kind of thinking that franchisees are actually part of the big business when they're independent businesses. I mean, you see that from the NLRB, to questioning franchisee loans by the SBA. So that's a whole other issue. So all that stuff is percolating, and that's where I think one issue. I mean, we talked, raising the loan limit from $2 million to $5 million. Right now, almost half of the SBA loan dollars are going to loans of over $2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hope these are qualified small businesses. And, there's nothing wrong with, with making these loans. That's what the loan limit is now. But it does, I think, perhaps add to the perception problem that maybe the SBA has gotten away from serving the needs of truly small businesses, and it's helping businesses that maybe don't need the government guarantee.
Right. That's
the problem. So lenders, you all need to be prepared to address that, because I think those arguments are coming.
Yeah, but and we always hear that, and that's always a concern. You mentioned watchdog.org. Yeah, there's been some dribs and drabs of some stories coming out, and it seems to be escalating now. We used to get one every month,
right.
one every 2 weeks. Now they're almost once a week, and not very flattering for SBA and borrowers and lenders.
I also saw an op-ed in Entrepreneur by that Case Western professor that testified a few years ago when Tom Coburn had his hearing about do we even need the SBA, and you know, his op-ed was like, let's replace the 7A program, you know. And what I didn't really understand about it, he goes about 15 paragraphs about why the program isn't needed, why the government doesn't need it doing. And then the last paragraph is, let's replace it with a program that serves the needs of 21st century businesses, which seemed like his point was we don't need it. So I don't know what a program that serves the needs of 21st century businesses would be that's not the SBA.
Well, I think it's always a fight. I think it's very, especially with the changeover in the committees. The Senate went from Democratic to Republican leader. There's a new leader on the House in Chabot, and it's constantly an education of not only the senators but the representatives, but their staffs in terms of how important this program is and how important it is for their specific district.
And frankly, I mean, I think on the House side, you know, you've got basically a lot of the same staff. You've got, and Chabot's been on the committee before. I mean, to me, that seems like kind of just a continuation of what it was like under Chairman Graves. In the Senate, in anticipation of this, I decided to look at the hearings that have been held by the Senate Small Business Committee since David Vitter has become chairman. Vitter, you know, is running for governor of Louisiana. And so I don't think this statistic is a coincidence. I have counted, let's see, 9 hearings that the committee has had. 7 of them have been in Louisiana, have been field hearings in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that shows he's basically, his focus is on his campaign for governor, I think. You know,
yeah, that was an interesting switch in terms of him wanting to take that 2-year stint to, I guess, embellish his resume and his credentials.
So actually, it's only a 1-year stint because that election is this fall.
Oh, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Sure. Yeah.
Very good. But I think the takeaway is you don't see any major changes in terms of the approach of the Hill toward their attitude toward SBA. Is it fair to say it's still very much a bipartisan support of the program?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it almost seems like the appropriators are more friendly to the SBA than the House Small Business Committee. You know, because they have issues with the SBA doing all these new pilot programs and doing things that they didn't authorize them to do. So that's been going on for years. They did the same thing this year, and usually the appropriators kind of ignore them. So, I mean, it's nice. If you're going to have friends, it's nice to have friends on the appropriations committee.
Hey, Kent, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us inside baseball, what's going on in the Hill. I appreciate your insights, and I appreciate the great columns that you write in terms of very nice and very good coverage about small business in Main Street. So thank you very much for that.
All right, thank you.